All right, you guys asked for it, so we're going to go ahead and do it. About 2 days ago, I posted a video, and towards the end of it, it went something a little bit like this. All you got to do, comment in the comment section the movie you want me to review and why. So basically in this video, I promise you guys that if you commented the movie you wanted me to review in the comment section, then I would review it based off of kind of a pulling out of a hat, names out of a hat method. And I think there's about 5 movies recommended and then 2 recommendations for Princess Bride. That must have been what tipped it over the edge because that is the one that I pulled from it. And so to both Steve and Reed who recommended that, let's talk about that. Now, let's just go ahead and get this cat out of the bag. You were raised on this movie. I was raised on this movie. Literally everyone was raised on this movie. I don't know what the older generation was. I feel like people have been being raised on this movie since like the 1600s. Who do you know that wasn't raised on this movie? Who do you know that like watched it in theaters? And was like, what a legend, you know? Case in point, this is such an interesting movie for me to talk about because my parents love this movie. This is like probably their favorite movie. So for you few poor unkindly souls who have for some reason never seen this movie in one way or another, basically the gist of the movie is it follows basically 2 main people, the main one being Princess Buttercup, or not Princess, just Buttercup, I don't know, that's her and a farm boy named Wesley are in love, and it's a beautiful story. You will cry many times while watching it. Who wouldn't, you know? It's a classic. And basically, Wesley eventually leaves for reasons and with a promise to come back to her eventually. And she waits for years and years and eventually promises to never love again because she hears that he died and she believes it. And then they meet again, except she doesn't realize she's met Wesley because he's wearing a bandit mask on. And he's basically taken another side life and been like, yeet, I guess I didn't care about you as much as I thought I did, which is why I spent like 10 years away from you, but we're going to ignore that because it's a classic and it's a beautiful movie. At the end of the day, she figures out that this masked bandit who is her kidnapper is actually Wesley. It's all beautiful. And they go through a chain of wonderful adventures. I swear I'm just explaining things to a wall. You all know how this movie goes. So the question is it good? Let's be honest, you can't not smile a little bit at this movie. It's a classic, and it's a classic for a reason. You've got the action, you've got the love, you've got the villains, you got the heroes, and then you could argue there's a pretty decent twist of having the 2 like anti-heroes in there who are good guys but not good guys. You got Physique, you got Inigo Montoya. I mean, it's the clan. It's like if Raya and the Last Dragon with the weird creepy baby, young boy, and old man clan was a good group, because in this case it actually is. It's a fun group to watch, and I know you're not supposed to constructively look at it from an actual critique viewpoint because there's no fun in that, but this is actually a fun group to look at, and they actually work well together. In the movie, of course, Inigo Montoya is played by the none other than Mandy Patinkin, and I think this is actually so funny because apparently this is something everyone knows, especially from this generation, and I didn't. It wasn't until I was watching an episode of Criminal Minds with my wife that she told me the name of the guy, and I'm like, oh, cool. And then she's like, no, that's Inigo Montoya. And I look it up, and I freaked out because I don't know if you've ever seen Criminal Minds, like the guy, I don't know names anywhere, but, you know, he acts in this. And then slowly it was like this weird chain reaction of figuring out that he's acting like a million different things. Man, this guy, he's a legend. If you loved him, if you were a woman in love with him, if this was your celebrity crush, I get it. He's kind of mine now. You don't watch this movie because it's good or because it's bad. You watch it because it's the Princess Bride. That's a genre, right? We're going to watch Princess Bride. You know, your parents pull it out and you're like, I have no choice at this point. Because once they decide to do it, that's it. You're done. So I'm just going to talk about who I think deserves the most recognition in this, which is the clergyman. Because don't get me wrong, there are quotable people throughout this whole movie. There is phrases to be remembered for generations to come, as has been for the last 5 centuries since this movie came out. Or something like that. But the clergyman, right? The priest.
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today.
That has to be the most quoted thing. So here's why I'm pulling this kind of out of my throat at this point, is somebody like him became one of the most quoted people of all time. But nobody knows who acted him, and yet he's more quoted than anybody else in the movie. And I just want to mention the fact that, you know, respect where respect is due. He deserves more. He went on to play in Supergirl, Black Beauty, and a bunch of other 70s and 80s movies that probably don't really exist, and that's just a dang shame. I mean, the most quoted guy in history, and nobody knows who he is, and nobody recognizes him in any other movie. I mean, I could be misstating. Maybe he was the heartthrob of the 80s. Who's really to say? But I'm certainly not. I just think it's a dang crime that we don't know who this guy is more. Because, once again, credit where credit is due. Now, don't get me wrong, the whole cast does such a good job in doing what they're supposed to do in this movie, so respect and my heart's out to them for doing that, but my greatest respect is for the director here, who knew exactly what he was making when he made this movie. I mean, he really didn't take himself too seriously. And imagine if he had tried to take himself too seriously. Just envision unironically for a second how this movie would have turned out, and if we'd even know it, if he had taken this too seriously and tried to turn this into some cinematic masterpiece. I mean, really. Not that it's not a cinematic masterpiece, but I think we all know what I'm talking about here. Director Rob Reiner, whatever his name is, I mean, he knew what he was doing. And he created a classic. Well done to the cast. Well done for him. Everyone knows the movie, right? It's like the makers of Napoleon Dynamite, man. You can't hate on it. The fact that they made it where they made it, no matter how they did it, you gotta respect it. So the question is, did I actually like it growing up? No, I didn't. I didn't like it growing up. I actually hated it. Every time it was popped into the VCR, I was like dreading that. But now I've grown to be a richer, more appreciative man. And I can appreciate that. For that reason alone, and the reason I've spoken of previously, we're going to go ahead and slap this onto a rating scale. And from 1 to 10, we're giving this a solid 13 out of 10. Nothing to critique about this movie. It's perfect. There are no flaws to be given. And it is a classic to last us through the nations. It's lasted us the last 5 centuries. It'll last us the next 5 centuries moving forward. And there's nothing to be said about it any further. That's it for today, though, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you made the comment on my previous video recommending a movie, thank you so much. I might even get around to reviewing some of those. Yesterday, my wife and I, we watched Godzilla vs. Kong. We had the privilege to watch it in theater, so I am definitely going to be talking about that in my video, either tomorrow or whenever my next movie review is, because I'm actually hyped to talk about this movie. For now, though, that's Princess Bride. It's the only movie that matters. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Later, guys.